following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all nerds! International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games. A show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and the GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me as always are my co-hosts of extraordinary character, Stefan Dragonspawn and Chris Holmes. There, how was that for like a World War II type bulletin?
That was awesome. Dude, you could call me Captain or Sky Captain, right?
Sky Captain Chris
Sky
Holmes.
Captain and the World of Tomorrow. Dude, that's what they reminded me of. That was great, dude. I loved it. Hey,
yeah, so we're doing a Tannhaüser show, and I got Chris and Stefan here with me.
Let's
talk, guys.
SS Tannhaüser, right? Setting spotlight Tannhaüser.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Oh, and I do have to mention, not only do I cook meat apparently well, I can make pretty goddamn good apple pie. Holy shit, did that turn out yesterday?
Delicious.
I made my daughter a birthday apple pie. And it was beautiful. It was fucking great.
Nice.
I must say, it was very nice in our group text messaging to receive pictures of pie instead of meat for once.
Ooh, nice. Yeah,
Yes.
I did that one for you guys, so
That's it.
I'll make more pie. I'll text the meat pics for Stefan and pie for the rest of you guys.
Exactly. There we go.
How about you, Stefan? What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. We voted today. It's election day in Canadistan, and
New Providence?
yes. So we voted. We went out and said, "I want this guy to screw me over because he's more gentle."
Because I don't want the other guy to screw me over.
Yeah.
It would hit more.
Voting is like picking which toilet brush to brush your teeth with.
Exactly. So
Wow. All right.
there we go.
How about you, Tony? Have you recovered from Con on a Cob yet?
Well, my whiskey veins are back full of blood, so
Darn.
Yeah.
Have to fix that.
and going back to work definitely sucked, but I did it. I made it through the first week.
I know, it fucking sucks, man. Every time you go on vacation, you take a few days off, you come back, shit's broken, and everybody wants something, man. That first week back was rough for me.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering.
I was lucky. I had a couple of days off before going to work, so I could take it easy
There you go.
and relax and unpack my things and slowly but surely, and then go to work going, "Arr, arr, arr, where are my dice? Arr, arr, arr." What do you mean I have to sit here and talk to these people?
Awesome. Well, aren't we bundles of joy?
Yeah. Well, we love being together and playing with each other. I mean, playing together.
There we go. There we go.
Good thing I was muted while I coughed. I was joking on that. Oh, gosh. So what do we got for news there, Stefan?
A few little things that I'm actually looking at right now. A few more things that have been added to the Foundry. A few custom PC sheets for various settings. Thanks to contributor Drainsmith. So stuff for Shadow of the Beanstalk, Realms of Tyrna, Something Strange. I think most of them are form fillable. So if you want, you can do that.
And they do propagate the dice symbols, the green and yellow dice symbols. So very nice.
Yeah, so you don't have, especially good for beginners.
Yep. Yeah, that helped at the con when we had that stuff on there too.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I've been doing that with my face-to-face group. I didn't have the markers or the signs I'm using, just markers, but I'm still at least writing down like we do in our show notes sometimes, like 3Y, 1G. So
There you go.
So that the guys know what kind of dice for their skills. And So that's out. And also on the Foundry is the Expanded Fear Guidelines, which is pretty cool. So it expands a little bit on the basic rules in the Genesis core book. Has a chart with suggestions how to spend the advantage and threat and so forth. It's just 3 pages long, but still, a little bit more details there. So it's available on drive-thru for I think $1.
Cool.
And then it's they announced that the GM screen for Genesis is on the boat, so it's on its way.
Woohoo!
So just hope that pirates don't hijack the boat.
Dude, don't jinx it.
No.
I think the Genesis stuff is actually made in the States, so it doesn't actually travel on a boat, unlike some of their other. So, let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, stuff like that has games with pieces and plastic tokens and stuff. It may be made overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, listener feedback. We've got. There was several, but mainly I just wanted to pick one or two today. Particularly, we got one from Joe Mitchell. Hi, Joe. He wrote to us. He says, "Hey guys, for me, that was the best episode you've done in a while." Now he's talking about our episode on episode 41, where we had Keith Capel on. He says, "I'd actually put your podcast on the back burner, but having Foundry content producers brought your show back up to the top. Yay!
Sweet.
The best part was getting a taste of their content in Advantageous Threats. It's like 50 times 50 pieces of awesome.
What?
More like that would be great. Thanks, Joe."
So that's 2,500 pieces of awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Well done.
way more than
That's
I have
great.
in my coffers.
I don't have that much either.
No, we'd have to pool our resources.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, thanks,
that
Joe,
come
for
short.
that.
Yeah, and
That's good.
that's pretty much been the vein of our all of our feedback coming from that show, that people really did enjoy it. And Keith was a great guest.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
So we as we discussed on our last episode, we're going to change up our show format. We're going to be doing more of those next year. We're probably going to stick strictly to Foundry creators. I'm sorry to tell our friend Michael Miklashin that we're going to do. We're going to take care of those guys first, but we will keep you on our long-term list unless you decide to do something up on the Foundry. But he had requested that he get to come on the show and talk about the community stuff that he has done, which he's done a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't want to take away from Chris's 50 pieces of awesome for the free stuff out there that people do. Chris likes to showcase those in 50 pieces of awesome. We don't want to ruin that. So.
Yeah.
So there is a reason. It's not just us picking on you, Michael, for your refusing to pronounce your last name for us.
Right.
So,
Well, that was my vote. If he's not going to pronounce his name, no way is he coming on the show. No, I'm just kidding.
And it has to be a unanimous vote, so So that's Chris's fault. He's cock blocking you. So.
What? No. No.
but if you see us, another thing is we've had a couple of emails about this. If you see us, we've mentioned it in the past, but if you see us on the brewery, if you see us doing our live plays, and you see us playing on Fantasy Grounds, and you're interested in the modules that have been done for that, Jimmy Fett and Chris have done some great work on getting some of the data input, and they'll gladly share those with you for free. Just email that to findingthenarrativepodcast @gmail.com. Attention, Chris, and he'll make sure you get those modules. So,
Yep, they work very well. They're really cool. So
Yeah. Pretty straightforward to do, too. Though every 3 months after I create something, I have to figure out how to do it again. Right, right, Tony? Like the other night, creating your Kung Fu Panda background. Like, how the hell do you do this? Oh, yeah, that's how.
It took you 12 minutes after you had remembered how to do it. It took you 15 minutes to remember
If
and
that.
12 minutes to get it done.
That's right.
It was,
Not so bad.
and it looks beautiful. It
Yeah,
looks
man.
beautiful.
I'm looking forward to playing in that game.
I have it up right now because I was working on the pre-gens before we started.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's it for our listener feedback.
Cool. All right. So, speaking of awesome, shall we get to our next part of the show?
Yes, we shall.
Welcome to 50 Pieces of Awesome. This is where our resident finder of all things, Chris, goes out onto the interwebs and seeks out coolness in all its forms and shows us something Genesys-y that is sweet. What you got, buddy?
I have... Okay, so as you guys know, I might have mentioned it on the show too, I've been doing wargaming with my buddy Keith at Fantasy Flight Games during our work days. But, so I found this neat Warfare Rules supplement created by Jim Jam Jahar. It's 8 pages long. It's called Arming Armies. And it is 8 pages of awesome. A lot of potential here, I think. This is fantasy, so he has like this... themed as it's fantasy themed. He was inspired by, the realms of Tyrnoth, the Middle Earth settings, Westeros, all of that stuff inspired him to do this. And basically what it comes down to is he's created stat blocks for units, army units. Like, for instance, there's like these peasant levies on page 2 here that have like what do you call it? Like 6 or 8 what is that? Morale damage threshold, and he's got a casualty threshold of 10. So once they take 10 casualties, quote unquote damage, you'll need to make like a morale check to make it so that these guys don't break and start running away. And this really harkens back for me playing these war games with the little cardboard chits. I know all you old gamer grognards out there are like, oh yeah, I remember those. Like Advanced Squad Leader. It really pulls in that stuff, and I think there's a lot of potential here. Pretty cool.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and I like his take on what's it, mass combat. It interesting. I like it.
It is. I mean, it really is. And he has an ancient dragon here. Yeah, it's one like enemy that has like 35 quote unquote, casualty threshold, but you could throw a whole bunch of units going after this dragon, maybe led by your player, maybe by one of your characters or something. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential here. There's things like maneuvers where you can get in a tight formation, which gives that unit a melee defense of 1, but ranged attacks get a boost die against them because they're in a tight formation.
That's it, easier to hit, yeah.
Yeah, easier to hit. and I've been watching Gettysburg, the 4.5 hour version of Gettysburg, so I'm like, oh man, that's it. And then there's the critical injuries. Things like broken formation. If the unit takes a critical injury, there's a different table for that, where the unit is broken. The unit must use a maneuver to gather itself before it's able to attack again. Just little things like that really gives it a feel of like you're playing kind of a war game, but in Genesys.
So, well, that's it, because there's things like that are beyond just minion groups. We have lots and lots of soldiers. Well, they have to. You see that in war movies where some soldiers will break ranks, and then the whole unit falls apart, or some tighten up ranks. I was actually watching earlier Rome TV series. I've been trying to get into it. And the beginning starts with the guys all in formation, and the commander with the whistle. And they know when he's blowing the whistle, they change up so that they're not tired. Fresh troops move to the front, shields back. One guy in the back holding the harness of the soldier in front, so he's stable.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've got to watch that show. I think that's on my list.
Yeah.
He also does things like and then he does the last little bit is sieges and fortifications. So if you have your units in, say, a stronghold, that unit has a armor rating now of 1 or such. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's kind of cool. Like I said, a lot of potential here.
I like the siege weapons. That was really nice. Siege weapons.
Definitely, and some new talents here just to say round out your field commander, terrain master, for example, leading an army. Units under your command may ignore the effects of difficult terrain. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Battle plans is the one I kind of called out. It's pretty cool. Once per session, when you're leading an army, a unit under your character's command, if they suffer a critical casualty, you can roll twice and choose which result to keep.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if I've seen that where you have a talent that allows you to re-roll twice on a critical injury table or whatever and pick the better of the result. I know you're able to reduce a critical. Have you guys seen anything like that?
Yeah, I've seen something similar in some of the newer products.
No,
okay,
I haven't seen it myself. I know like the dwarves or the laborer has a talent to reduce any critical down to a 0-1.
Yep.
But that just reduces it to 0-1. It doesn't have to re-roll.
Or something.
I can't remember which one of the Foundry products has it, but one of the
Foundry
roll
products. Twice. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Kind of cool.
Yep.
But
definitely.
Yeah, so well done on this.
Yes.
And it kind of keeps with our theme of talking about Tannhaüser, so
here we go.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty good. So there you go. So Jim Jam Jahar, we award you your 50 pieces of awesome.
Yay!
Sling, 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 sling. There we go.
All stacked neatly in a row.
Yes.
Cool.
Well, sir.
I think I might have got that, Tony. We'll see.
Sir,
If
yes,
it is,
sir.
I'm going to leave all this in here. Well, welcome everybody to the Books of Genesis.
Sir.
Good. That was pretty good, Stefan. I like it. Okay, so open up your core rulebook to page 158.
Already open,
Weird
sir.
War. Cool. All right, so we're going to talk about the Weird War settings, like your alternative history settings, and talk about the tropes, the gear. We're going to go through the setting here, and then we'll talk about the specifically in our setting the tone section, the Tannhaüser setting, the fluff behind that. So tropes. What are we talking here, guys? I already mentioned the first one of one of them for the tropes for Weird Wars, right?
Yeah. Weird Wars is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
go ahead.
In the first trope is alternate history. So you want, when you're doing a Weird War setting, whether it's Rome, whether it's the Napoleon's army attacking Egypt, whether it's the Spanish invading Mexico, whether it's Nazis, it does not matter. You're going to take what actually happened and you're going to twist it.
That's right. I mean, if anybody's seen the show Man in a High Castle on Amazon Prime, that's a perfect example about that, where the Nazis in Japan won World War II, and that shows about the fallout after that. That's an example. There's plenty of books out there for this too.
And it's basically that thought. Here's what actually happened. What if?
Mm-hmm.
And then you answer that question. What if the Nazis had won the war?
Yeah.
What if the Americans never left Vietnam? So on and so forth. That's really what alternate history is. It's just that what if question.
Yeah, I actually watched the first episode of The Watchmen last night on HBO, and Vietnam is a state.
That is a great example of an alternate history.
Mm-hmm.
I had collected some of the source books for another role-playing system, GURPS, and they had 2 books of alternate Earths
Really?
settings. And one of them, they had, a couple of scenarios of the Third Reich either winning or partially winning, partially losing, whatever. And then there was some where it's other parts of history which are turned on its head. What if Tesla was right and his electricity was used widely in the United States, and you have a bit of that sky captain technology in the 50s?
Yeah, man.
So you do have flying cars, and instead of wires, electricity is transmitted over the air.
Yeah.
You have that weird scientist, or what of the Persian Empire gained a foothold and colonies in space. They had a good variety of, the Persian Empire was, never fell and kept going as a powerhouse and became a huge economic powerhouse, and their technology, advanced, and they were able to sort of start colonizing the solar system. And the world map was upside down, basically because the Persians believe that south is up, because they're part of the Nile. The Nile flows downwards, basically, not up.
Gotcha. That's cool. Yeah, I remember another source for this would be when the PlayStation 3 first came out, and it came with a game. It was called Resistance: Fall of Man. And that is what if an alien invasion occurred during World War II, and that it goes into now everybody's in trench warfare with aliens, and it's real. It's got a lot of good lore and cool stuff behind it too. So
nice.
That's cool. There was a do I dare mention a Savage World setting called Day After Ragnarok. That was freaking cool. I ran a short campaign. Basically, the premise behind that is the Nazis, the occults, Nazi occult raised the Midgard serpent, and instead of U.S. bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we bombed the Midgard serpent, blew it up, ended the war, but it pretty much destroyed the United States because of the quote-unquote poison fallout from it. But it was fairly brilliant because the blood of the Midgard serpent created quote-unquote magic in the world. So and you could use however you want to do it, right? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a few settings from that rule system that are alternate history, that some of us know. So you've probably heard of Deadlands, Rome. There's one about Rome where they're fighting supernatural stuff.
Sweet.
So,
and that takes us on to the second trope.
Yeah.
The second common trope for Weird War settings, which is, Stefan?
The occult.
Oh, I thought you said Stefan is another trope. He is kind of an alternate.
An alternate kind of sibling?
Yeah, the occult.
Yes, often, yes. Paranormal stuff is part of the Weird Wars kind of setting. So whether it's like the undead, werewolves, vampires, part of the enemy troops, or even, which reminds me of, there was a short Netflix series that one of the ones was a unit in Afghanistan. They're trying to do minesweeping and peacekeeping there, and two of the soldiers are actually werewolves.
Oh yeah, senses. Was that in the robots one?
Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. Yeah,
Love, Death, and Robots. So two of them are werewolves, and they discover that there are a few other, maybe terrorist kind of werewolves that face off against each other as well. So a little bit of supernatural there in modern times, but doesn't have to be Victorian times. It can be you can put in modern as well. Mm-hmm. But yes, usually it's side by side with regular science.
I like this. I like this second sentence under the occult. It says, "Oh, and there is no shortage of real life historical occult shenanigans."
Yes.
Out there. I've never really thought of the cult being shenanigans, but that's kind of a neat little way to describe it, I think.
Well, at least there's always stories about Hitler trying to use the occult to improve his forces. So that would be like
if it weren't for that particular trope, we wouldn't have Indiana Jones movies.
Exactly. Exactly. Now here's an image. Okay, everybody, close your eyes. Imagine you're overlooking a battlefield and you see regiments of Minotaurs charging an MK1 tank with prototype Panzerfausts. What a freaking awesome idea.
They're just super soldiers.
Yeah,
Come on.
Come on, whatever.
They're just yelling out, "Move over!"
Yeah. And speaking of, go ahead.
But yeah, that's exactly. However much you want to put into your, it can be as serious as you want it to be, or it can be as fantastical as you want it to be. I know for me, one of the prerequisites for any kind of Nazi type experimental program is got to be the zombies and werewolves and vampires and Frankenstein type stuff, because that stuff is so embedded in our culture, for one. Number two, I always have this image when I think about Nazi troops. So one of my favorite online video games that I ever played, City of Heroes. The very first time, it's late at night, I'm sitting up playing this game, and for the very first time, my first playthrough, you run across this group of Nazis, and in the middle of a fight, one of them just shapeshifts into a freaking werewolf. Freaked me the hell out, because I was not expecting it, and I did not know that this was, his very first playthrough, way back when I first started, and I was like, just enjoying myself, but I was like, that's so cool! And that that for me,
cranking it up to 11.
Werewolf Nazis.
And if you could potentially hide something like that from your players, it's like, hey guys, let's do kind of this soldier, this maybe military themed campaign, and all of a sudden, first time, you throw that at them, hopefully you'll get that reaction at your table that Tony had during that video game. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, just start playing that is a great way to do it. Start playing a regular World War whatever, or we're going to play soldiers in the Vietnam era, or we're going to play whatever.
Or cowboys.
And then slowly introduce those elements and choose those moments to just dial it up to 11.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So speaking of that prototype Panzerfaust, the next trope is actually mad science, which goes hand in hand with the occult, right? Because you're doing all these research into advanced, fantastic technologies and whatnot. And what did we talk about? The last one, we were talking about the steampunk technology, where it really doesn't need to make sense. Same thing here. As long as they're bigger, on a larger scale, the doomsday devices the world killer doomsday devices. Those are the
death
things.
ray.
Yeah, the death rays. Oh, yeah. What does it say? A Napoleonic war setting with flying machines and primitive internal combustion engines. That's cool.
Well, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Or a Korean War game where one of the guys has figured out how to genetically engineer dinosaurs, and your freaking Korean soldiers are riding into battle on velociraptors.
There we go.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Sounds like that's a first-hand experience there, Tony.
No, but I had the idea.
There we go.
Nice.
TM.
Yeah, well, that reminds me of
trademark. That's right. Korean soldiers on dinosaurs. There we go. Trademark that fucker.
That reminds me of someone actually made a fan, Cowboys and Dinosaurs and Cowboys for Genesis.
Yeah.
Did they recently?
That's essentially an alternate history.
Alternate history. So dinosaurs still exist. Why not?
During the War for the West, so it's even a weird war setting, technically.
So you've got Native Americans as well writing, Brontosaurus, their whole villages. Okay, we're moving.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we showcased that on 50 Pieces of Awesome at one point. That was awesome. That was pretty cool.
Would be another example. Yep.
And speaking of which, that kind of goes into our last one there, Tony. You want to take that one, our last trope?
Sure. Our last trope is the monstrous regiments. Paranormal, monstrous, or superhuman soldiers are another popular theme. Like I had already mentioned, The Walking Dead, werewolves, demons, angels, something inhuman. Always got to have something that is monstrous in some way. Either whether conjured through black magic or through mad science, it doesn't matter. These creatures should be special forces, commandos, shock troops, infiltrators, saboteurs, things like that in your war settings.
Yeah.
So, and I had a series of books I read, and I was hoping to mention that here. A series of novels called the Téméraire Chronicles, written by Naomi Novak. So basically, it's Napoleonic era. Napoleon's still there. He's fighting against England and other forces to expand the French Empire. Uh-huh. But in this world, dragons actually do exist.
Oh,
there are
you
different
told me
types.
about that before. Yeah.
There are different types of dragon sizes, and different nations view dragons different ways.
That's
the
cool.
French and English are fighting each other savagely. Like England's the only country that hasn't been invaded by Napoleon yet, and they use basically dragons, smaller dragons as messengers, almost like fighter planes. Some of the huge dragons are almost like fighter bombers. So they'll have multiple soldiers in special harnesses with bombs and special rifles. And each dragon is kind of bonded to one human to be able to to control them. But then the characters travel the world, and one dragon called Téméraire, they discover that he's originally from China. Mm-hmm. They go there. In China, dragons are revered. They're part of society. They have jobs, basically. They can have property and rights and so forth, whereas in Europe, they're almost treated as property, practically, sentient property. In Africa, the dragons are very, very different as well. They're almost like kings. They adopt tribes. This is my tribe of humans. They're mine.
Oh, cool.
And then if they conquer another dragon, well, your tribe now is part of mine, and it's almost their treasure hoards. Like, my tribe is bigger, so I'm more important. I'm bigger.
Nice. So when are you going to run it, Stefan? When are you going to run it?
I don't know yet, but it was interesting. The only reason I didn't follow up through at one point is like the story kept trudging through, just making us tour the whole world to just show us how the dragons are. But, just like, it wasn't advancing as much. I thought I'd have to read it up again, but the beginnings, the first 3 or 4 books, are pretty awesome.
Cool.
But that would be another good example of a Weird Wars. There's no paranormal, but the dragons do have some abilities. Some have breath weapons and so forth. But it's
that's super fantastical.
Super fantastical, but with low technology. Gunpowder is still around, but no magic or no paranormal. Just dragons are around. They exist. That's like part of the ecology.
Cool.
I'll posit one to you. The series of movies that revolves around the Caribbean trade war, which involved pirates. Mm-hmm. And it takes on a fantastical and occult nature when you have, say, the Pirates of the Black Pearl who get cursed. That's right. Pirates of the Caribbean is a Weird War setting.
It is. Yeah, nice one, Tony. I did not even think about that. You're right.
It's true. They put a twist on that. You think it's just pirates on the high seas with the British, in the background,
right.
But no, it's like, no, wait a minute, these guys are dead.
That's right.
and there's all kinds of fantastical devices. There's all kinds of occult leanings in that, and it's essentially a Weird War setting.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll posit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely part of that category. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But we're focusing on Weird War 2, I think, in this section as we move in to say, the gear and because it goes into Tannhaüser, which we'll read on that. But the gear, the armor, the equipment, and the adversaries are geared towards, but we'll talk about ways to skin those for some others. Mm-hmm. So let's go into the gear. Let's start with the weapons.
Well, hang on a second. Before we go into the gear real quick, let me mention the sidebar here. about the character options, because they don't list character options in this. Because basically everybody plays a human. However, I love the idea here where if you kind of want to play one of the werewolves, or if you want to create a resurrected soldier, you could play either a mongrel or a revenant from the other, I think that was from the steampunk. Yeah, the steampunk setting. So,
a resurrected person.
Yeah, there you go.
Basically a Frankenstein kind of creature.
Exactly. Or one of those Nazi zombies that go good.
That's it.
You know, wielding dual scimitars and has a panther. Oh, wait a second. That's another.
No, that's another thing. But wasn't there a movie? Was there also a World War II movie that threw in some supernatural? I forget the name of it. You guys also saw it, I think.
Oh, yeah, dude. That would be what was that? Overlord?
Overlord.
Yeah,
Project Overlord, or is it Overlord? There we go.
It was Overlord. Yeah.
That would be a good example. So we're making the Nazis making super soldiers with weird science.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tony. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Oh, yes, you did.
Guns. Yeah, you're right. I did.
Well, we're getting into the gear, and first thing they bring up is these the guns, because you got guns.
Yes,
so we've got these. I like them because they're kind of cool. The DEW pistol and rifle.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically direct energy weapon. That's what DEW stands for. So rather than solid projectiles, they're an energy weapon. There's no, it's a laser, or it's a plasma, or it's an electricity. It doesn't matter. It's just a direct energy weapon.
It's just directed energy. Yep.
And what I like about them is they're simple. They're cheap, and all they have is burn. That's it. Right. They just do damage and more damage.
They just burn the hell out of you. Yeah, they set shit on fire.
That's it.
The enemies.
But you can. But I would suggest have the GM really have fun when there's a despair finally comes up on that pistol. It's not just no. You run out of ammo? No, that's not just what happens. You run out of ammo. You run out of ammo spectacularly.
Exactly.
Kaboom.
Whoosh. What just happened? Why do I have no hair? All right.
Gun starts making weird noise. Well, that's not supposed to happen.
You got something you like there, Stefan?
I liked a little bit all of them. They're all pretty cool. The flash guns as well, in both machine gun fashion and hand pistol or rifle. Just flash guns are just, they say a collection of different types of weapons, whether it's machine guns or rifles, submachine guns, with the special material called in this setting, let's say, Illyrium batteries. So giving extra oomph for your buck, like super ammo for your gun. So they actually disorient and pierce your opponent's protection.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
So what they sacrifice sometimes in power compared to a dew pistol or a rifle, they make up for it in piercing and lots of ammo being shot at. Some of them, like the flash gun, even flash machine gun. Of course, you have auto fire that you can get.
Oh,
always go for the auto fire.
I'll tell you what I like.
Mm-hmm.
Tony. Don't be idle. I'll throw you the razor whip. The razor whip, man. I'll tell you, dude. My Indiana Jones character will definitely have a razor whip.
Yeah.
Because that looks pretty nasty. It does some pierce damage because it's basically it's a flexible braided alloy with razor sharp blades, in there. So piercing you ensnare. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
And you can kind of be at chicken shit range, halfway between chicken shit range and right up in somebody's face. So that'd be short range.
Yeah, but just make sure you're pretty skilled with it. You're agile enough to use it.
That's right.
Oh, you will be. Yeah, because it's unwieldy 3. You got to have an agility of 3 to not get a penalty on it. So
right.
Yeah,
so those are nasty.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I mean, the electric truncheon is just cool. Like a frickin' shovel that is you could just slam somebody with and just electrocute them.
That's it. So you don't have any silver? Yeah, electrocute the werewolf. That should keep him busy.
Tase him to sleep. Tase him to sleep.
That's it. I said, down, Fido. Bad boy.
Don't
Bad
tase
boy.
me, bro. Don't tase me.
Not what you said last night. Oops.
Whoa. Whoa.
So, yeah,
Another
there's
weird war.
there's not a lot of weapons. There's just a few, and the Meteop launcher is the only one we really didn't mention.
Yeah.
And that's it's like
It's a big gun that explodes.
it's
right?
a
I mean,
your standard big gun.
I mean, but you could pull in the modern day weapons too, like your normal, pistols and machine guns that your slug throwers, so to speak.
Yeah,
right.
Like
Yeah.
steampunk
Right
them up
on.
a bit,
I mean, chainsaws too. Got to cut the zombies in half somehow. But you always need a trusty frickin' crowbar. Weapon of choice, man, in the zombie
One of
apocalypse.
those chain axes.
Yeah, that too.
Weapon of choice in the zombie apocalypse is a machete.
There you go.
My whole family has one.
Okay.
It's once you're inducted in the family, you get a family machete.
Okay, so why? So I'm going to take us on a little tangent. Why the machete? I'll give you my reason for the crowbar. Why the machete for you?
Well, because you can cut the heads off the zombies. That's the important part.
Okay.
And it's a simple, easy weapon to wield.
Yep.
And it's usable for trimming back the weeds that are eventually going to grow up.
There you go. That's good. That's pretty cool. I like the crowbar because same thing, nice sharpie pointy end. Now I'm talking about the crowbar that is kind of like the L-shaped crowbar. That's basically a piece of rebar, right?
Yeah, tire iron.
Fucking thing won't break. It's not gonna bend. You can kill zombies with it. It won't run out of ammo. For one,
Very
right?
difficult to store, though.
No,
on your
not so-
person.
no, not so much. But I can open shit with it. I mean. You're gonna bend that machete blade, but man, I can open shit with my damn crowbar. Anyways,
Especially when you want to escape the horde of zombies.
that's right. Anyways, so I digress.
Let's get into the armor.
Yeah.
All right, armor.
Good, Stefan.
Puny,
What do we have for
puny
armor?
armor?
Here? What do you have for armor?
I mentioned the Illyrium ammo. Well, some other scientists managed to figure out a way to make this Illyrium into a vest. So basically, it's the power source for a portable force field, basically.
Nice.
So the battery powers the Union flash guns. Well, this reinforced vest not only can absorb bullets, but can temporarily be energized to create a force field. So, once per encounter, as an incidental, just activate the force field and you gain a ranged defense of 2 until the end of your next turn. Not very long, but...
And melee defense, too. Both. Melee and range.
Melee, yes, and range. So melee 2 for both.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
when you see that big, nasty, reanimated corpse wielding that huge machete at your head, it's like, no!
That's right. When Tony told us this was just going to be a military campaign, and all of a sudden...
D-Day my ass.
Exactly. What else do we have, Tony?
Yeah. The other piece of armor is a Tesla coil. That's right. The matriarch pioneered Tesla coils. Personal force fields. That's so cool.
Yeah, freaking belt buckle, man.
I just picture traveling up and down somebody's body, just electrical field.
Yep.
Yeah. Doesn't soak any damage, but it does give you a defense of 2, which is great. Why would you want to soak damage if you don't get hit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's always a
that's
chance
kinda
to avoid being hit altogether.
So let me see. So Razor Whip, Tesla coil, belt buckle. All right, I'm getting there. All right, we're gearing out.
Then they've got some regular gear. Some of it, the first aid kit, always useful to patch up your buddies.
It's
The night,
usable in any of the modern settings.
Absolutely.
Yep.
for easy night eye goggles. That could be almost ubiquitous, whether they're high technology or just alien or using the ether to pierce through darkness.
Right.
What I like is that they also give you some mystical gear. Some of it can be part of the enemy's stuff, like the Unholy Tome, because they're summoning a nasty little devil with a big stone hand to bring about the end of the world. So this could be a tome that for an occult ritual. And of course, your own soldier might have a warding icon, which might help you protect against the occult. When you wear it on you. It says here, any supernatural or occult creature engaged with you is disoriented while they remain in engaged range.
That's cool.
The holy power protecting you, whatever it is, voodoo, church magic, like, ugh.
All right.
But you could totally do specific items for specific creatures.
Oh, yes.
And you could dial that down a little bit. And so, you've got garlic, but that don't stop werewolves, or whatever. Exactly. But you can, you can be picky and choosy with the warding icons.
This ward is only against mummies.
Right.
Oh yeah.
If you want one that's blanket against all supernatural creatures, have it more expensive and rare, like the one here. Yep. If you want one that's more dialed down to specific creatures, make it a little easier to get and maybe not so expensive.
Well, it'd be easier to prepare. Whereas something, again, it's kind of inspired by Hellboy, one of the first movies. When Abe goes into the water, he's given like this reliquary, protects against evil, but it has a finger bone of a saint. So it's not something that's found everywhere. So
No.
Right on.
But when he loses, it's like, oh crap, I'm done for now.
Okay, so let's see. So I'll have a dew pistol, a razor whip, Tesla coil belt buckle, and a frickin' warding icon. That will also allow me to find the Ark of the Covenant if I find the right map room. Right?
Well,
I'll pay extra for that.
You're going to have to fight some Nazis.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Some very furry Nazis.
And speaking of Nazis, I think I know where Tony was going with this, that maybe we start talking about these setting-specific adversaries now.
It's indeed where I was segueing into.
See, I'm telling you, right on the same page. Definitely. I'll take this first one then. This is your basic infantry soldier. 2s across the board. Soka 3, your minions. It's a wound of 5. They could shoot a ranged weapon. They can hit you with melee, and they're fairly disciplined, right? They got their rifles.
Listed in their spat lock, you got the rifle and bayonet. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I like the bayonet thing. It's cool. It's attached. If it's attached to the end of the rifle, you get defense 1. Makes sense. And an armored vest with +1 soak. Sweet.
Simple.
Yeah, man.
Great minion.
And you could reskin these however you want to. Right?
Yeah, you can skin them 100 times over. They're very easy. Infantry for anything.
Pretty much.
Right there.
Your basic stormtroopers, your basic infantry, and grunts in Vietnam, whatever.
Yep.
That's right.
All right.
What's next, Stefan?
Stefan says there's the Occult Commando.
Are you going to start talking in the third person? Stefan says.
Stefan says there's the Occult Commando. Yes, that's what he says. Yes. And this can be their rivals. They can be a bit tougher than your infantry minions because they could be zombies from the grave, soldiers from the Confederation that's rising up to fight modern day soldiers now, or suits of armor that are magically enhanced.
Sweet.
Super soldiers, with powerful serum or whatever, werewolves, or at least maybe not werewolves, but at the very least, part animal enhanced soldiers.
Cool.
Partly boosted by demons. So they'll have, of course, brawl, probably because they have natural weapons, maybe.
Yeah.
Some basic skills, and they're a little tougher. So adversary 1, so they are a bit of a more important threat. But since they're enhanced, they also have a weakness, usually, whether it's holy water, silver bullets, depending on the spirit inhabiting them or how they were created. So if you know their weakness, whether it's garlic enhanced bullets, they'll suffer maybe more damage from it, or enhance their crit rating.
Right.
Against
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So the crit would be a 1 against these things.
That's
if you're
it.
using the right, what do you call it? The right.
The right kind of weapon or implement. Yes.
Yep.
So, if you're using a Excalibur against a powerful undead vampire, like that might be more potent than just your regular lead bullets.
This is an interesting. This unholy animation is an interesting way to spend a despair. I like it. When it's hit by a combat check and they roll it, you can spend the despair to ignore all damage from the attack.
Right.
That's cool.
So so even though you attacked them, if you roll the despair, it's just no. The unholy magic that raises them, it's dissipates it.
That's right.
Not today. And they can have, of course, better equipment than your minions. They have like a rune-covered pistol, so maybe enhanced for better range and accuracy. A better knife, combat armor, and even tough hide or armor on their skin. Actually,
Curiously tough skin.
That's what they say.
It's almost like a curiously powerful breath mint. All right.
And
the commando.
Cool. What's our last one there, Tony?
So
I
the
like
Nemesis listed, the Arcane Scientist. So this is a profile that covers like your occult researcher or someone who's doing medical experimentation with and using arcane abilities. If you want, you can change out the medicine for mechanics, so that you got a mad scientist who creates death rays and walking tanks and so on.
Sweet.
So this guy's not brawny. He's got a brawn of 1. So is soaked 1 because this is what the minions are for. You send them in.
Exactly.
But he's got that big brain, and that's what you're afraid of. He's got the 4 intellect. So, and again, when you're dealing with a caster or with a arch nemesis type guy like this, who's the brains, he's way up there on the strain threshold with 18, and the wound threshold's 14. Again, his skills fit his suit, so he's social skills and medicine. Adversary 2, because he's that big nemesis. Scathing tirade, because he needs to use his social checks in combat against the troops. And then so like no other real special talents there, but his abilities.
Oh my god, this is great.
Arise, my minions! Once per session, you may make a hard mechanics or medicine check, depending on type of minions the Arcane Scientist has. For each uncancelled success, 1 incapacitated minion within medium range heals all wounds and rejoins the encounter.
There we go.
And may act
in the current round. So it's just, here he is. Just, you know what? Zombies. Oh, That
could be one of your oh shit moments there, Tony. Right? In your game. They're not going to turn into werewolves or zombies. They're down.
So
wait a second.
So here's a scenario for you. You've got your infantry troops, and it's just, you said these your troops. Your mission is you're to guard this radio room, and the enemy is just sending soldier after soldier after soldier at you, minion group after minion group, 5, 6, 7 rounds of combat. Your players have decimated all these minions. There's corpses laying everywhere, and this guy walks in.
Exactly. Hello.
Well, it's either he speaks the final words of his arcane ritual and just they all get up, or he's got this belt that projects all this weird science energy and just infuses the bodies and they reanimate.
Right. That would reanimate them the first time. You want some sort of narrative, but then you use his ability after a few of them get cut down, and you really just drive that home.
Oh yeah.
My minions.
So this guy's outfitted with a dew pistol like Chris, a lab coat and goggles, because Dr. Horrible he is.
Oh, he sure is. You got to give your bad guy goggles. Come on. That's what you got to do.
So never on his eyes, always on his head.
Yeah. Exactly.
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
The adversaries there, very short and cut and dry, but you can totally create a bunch of things from just those 3 little entries.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a basic idea, starting point. So
Excellent. All right. Are we ready to set the tone now, guys?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. So, welcome to Setting the Tone. This is where we pick a bit of fluff from one of the books and talk about it. And our pick of the day is the Tannhäuser setting. There isn't a tremendous amount here. Won't be long for us to go over it. But there are some resources out on the internet, too, that we're going to discuss. So what we're looking at is page 159 of your core rulebook. Mm-hmm. And the example setting Tannhäuser. It's a solid example of a weird war setting. It's rooted in reality, but departed radically from real-world history instantaneously.
Yep.
It's it immediately starts out talking about, when we talk about Weird War II, we talk about Germans, and immediately goes into the Germans.
Yep.
So in 1877, the German lodge called the Triberium Carium, or the Lodge of Rot, succeeded in resurrecting Heinrich Reffel von Richtenberg, or the 33rd Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights, who had died in Königsberg, my German sucks, in 1477. Within months, von Richtenberg had united the disparaging provinces, duchies, and kingdoms that had been the Holy Roman Empire.
That's disparate province.
Yeah, sorry. What did I say?
Disparaging.
Well, they're probably disparaging, too. I mean,
Yes.
Maybe.
after that.
Sorry.
Into a united German Empire, or Reich, and then called himself the Kaiser.
Right. Named himself after a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Because he's tasty.
Yes, of course.
So for the next 30 years, he consolidated power, prepared his new Reich for war, poured money, resources, and manpower into occult research and technological research as well.
So in this setting, you don't have Hitler. You have von Richtenberg, the Kaiser.
Von Richtenberg. I can't even say it.
So while that was happening, the world wasn't just, pretending everything was a hunky-dory. Meanwhile, in Russia, the October Revolution never happened. No.
What?
The Romanovs stayed in power. They advised the undying Rasputin. And working hand in hand with the Orthodox Church, he and the church worked. The Russian government slowly evolved into a powerful theocracy called the Directorate. So, like the Kaiser, though, Rasputin sought to harness occult power to conquer the whole world, and he also is using lots of money to improve, his forces by arcane and technological means. He works to resurrect the Slavic gods and enslave them to steal their power, making himself into a god.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well,
I'll take the next one.
Go for it.
Okay. Yet in far-off Japan, the end of the 19th century saw Emperor Meiji attempt to overthrow the shogun in an effort to wipe out the samurai. This failed spectacularly, and the ruling class revolted against him. Civil war raged for decades, and Meiji finally brought an end to the war and saw his country become an arcane and technological powerhouse with samurai soldiers still in power.
Yeah.
And shogun, so badass.
That's sweet. And they call it the shogunate.
Shogunate.
Shogunate. That's how
So you could have cyber samurais and samurai power armor.
Sweet. Well, while all of this was happening, so you have the Reich in Europe there, you have the Russian matriarchy, and then the Japanese shogunate. The Western powers, led by the United States and the British Empire, basically became what's called the Union. And they started tooling up their war while diplomats and spies were kind of working on figuring what the hell's going on in Europe and Asia. But the Tunguska event that happened in remote Siberia, I'm pretty sure that was a Tesla thing, right? I think, yeah.
In reality or in this?
In reality, I think the Tunguska event was like a Tesla thing, wasn't it?
No, it was a meteor that exploded in the atmosphere.
Oh, it was a meteor. Oh, okay. Well, that too. So then, basically, the world was pretty much kind of erupted in violence right after that. They called the Great War. So,
now one thing that
go ahead.
One thing that it didn't say in that paragraph, but it covers, is that at some point, Roswell happened in 1947,
Yep,
and the Union is able to start retro-engineering alien technology.
Yep. So they have like all those advanced weapons and such. And since then, consortiums, it's like the second to the last paragraph there in another column. The military labs and consortiums have been scrambling to develop these weapons to fight the Reich, the Shogunate, and and Russia. But something interesting happened in Russia. Who wants to take this one? I can take it if you'd like.
Go ahead.
So Project Zvarog, the Russian Varog. So with Nikola Tesla, ended up summoning a Slavic god. Put her in some armor of a warrior nun and named her Zorka. Put her in charge of the Russian military. Okay, that's fucking cool. It's like, what the fuck? What the hell? Yeah, and then what happened in the Shogunate after that?
Well, they just invaded China, as they've always wanted to do. So under the leadership of the elderly emperor and the mysterious shogun Hatamoto Omokaze, seized much of the mainland China and portions of Russia, not to be left behind in the field of occult. Japan seems to have summoned Oni and the demon general Itami.
Holy shit.
You got all these freaking demons in their army now.
Yes! That's sweet. And then pretty much so basically this last paragraph here kind of gives us an idea of what the world is like now in it. Like 40 years after the hostilities began, everybody kind of was like, well, let's just kind of take a step back. Right? Stefan? Yeah. Or whomever.
Well, the war continues to grind on between the great powers. There seems to be, though, a light at the end of the tunnel, although there's no actual peace accord or no ceasefire. Powers are exhausted. They're desperate. They've been fighting a long time. They're short of soldiers, materials, and the will to continue as well. At one point, it's like, no one want to fight anymore. But some of the high mucky mucks, of course, they still want to fight, but they're trying to bide their time. So yeah, there's treaties between the Union, the Matriarchy, the Reich, and the Shogunate. So you've got some powerful blocks, and so you could have a bit of a period of a Cold War kind of thing happening.
Totally.
And then each belligerent faction, grows increasingly reckless as they try to find ways to achieve victory. And there seems to be, they say, some great cataclysm seems to loom over the world as increasingly powerful weapons are introduced in an effort to end the conflict once and for all. So who's going to, get the A-bomb, basically?
That's right.
The hell bomb.
That's right. Blow the world up 8 times over.
That's it.
When only one will do. Yeah, so this sets up quite the setting. Fantastical, weird war setting, huh?
Oh, tons of
That's
conflict,
awesome.
tons of war. Every angle of the world's history can be incorporated here.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it. Even page 160, you have an illustration above the paragraphs we just read, which kind of evokes the same thing. You have the soldiers. They may be Union soldiers equipped with backpacks and armor with big guns facing off against this monstrosity of a corpse that's been bloated, out of proportion.
Mm-hmm. Dude, he's got that head in his fingertips like he's going to squeeze it like a grape.
Yeah, exactly. These big metal clamps of hands, a helmet that looks like some kind of deep dive, and all kinds of hoses and big tubes on his back, and some kind of weapon as well, a 3-cannon weapon on his back, facing off against
got
him.
a shoulder cannon there, and that other, yeah.
Maybe in the background some kind of walker. I'm not sure.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a neat picture. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's a dude on a jetpack up there. Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
I didn't notice that before. Flying.
So yeah,
in.
jetpack. Why not?
Nice.
Yeah. You can incorporate lots of things into this setting from all over the world, and if there's elements that is missed in their lore here, there's a little bit more online. There's a lot more that players of the games have filled in. There's also there was actually a Tannhaüser novel that was written. It's still available out there in places you can find it in a PDF or PDF reader formats like Kindle. It's called Tannhaüser Rising Sun Falling Shadows. And it was by the author Robert Zszree. Yeah. Never heard of him, but
Not him. That's him, yeah.
Yep. He's award-winning, but I've got it brought up here on Amazon. It's a paperback available used for $5. So, and then
cool.
a Kindle for $6.99. So if you're interested in getting more lore for your if you want to run a Tannhaüser game, I recommend getting that.
Yeah.
Rock on.
One thought I just had, with that setting, you could totally introduce elements like super soldiers, like a Captain America in that time. You remember, like the Captain America movie was during World War I. Have a few super soldiers that are like that on the good guy side, maybe.
There you go. Yep.
A couple of players are heroes. Maybe not the Superman level heroes, but still, definitely a little stronger, a little faster, a little better.
And you can use the superheroes rules in the tone section, right? Where if you roll a triumph, you roll again, right? You re-roll it.
An exploding triumph kind of idea.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Still pretty cool. They can have some of those extra tech items as some of their gear. Weird science.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Imagine a World War II type of Iron Man there.
What I'd want to run, the campaign, I think I've told you guys this before, the campaign that I want to run is the campaign that leads up to that day after Ragnarok, where the Nazis raised the Midgard Serpent, but actually have the players start off, oh yeah, you're in the war, and blah, 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 and then introduce the Cthulhu stuff, and of course they're going to fail, because, it's Cthulhu. Everybody fails and dies in Cthulhu.
Exactly.
Just set that right on session 0. Decide now how your character going to die. Right?
Yeah, you could totally.
Yeah.
You could totally introduce the Cthulhu-esque horror elements easily into this setting. I mean, any one of those ancient gods raised by the matriarchy, or any of the demons brought into the world by the shogunate, or even aliens that have come from space. And crashed in the Union territories and are being manipulated. There's a lot of Cthulhu-esque stuff you could throw into something like this and turn it into kind of a Delta Green type.
Oh, there you go.
Game.
Cool.
Which reminds me, I received today as an email the bundle of holding, which is all about Cthulhu, Clockwork and Cthulhu bundle.
Nice.
If you're subscribed to that, you could totally use that for a Weird War setting.
Nice.
They seem to have a couple of settings. One is Clockwork Chivalry. So, Weird Wars King Arthur.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Why not?
All right.
Maybe Morgan Le Fay is in league with Nyarlathotep or Cthulhu.
Oh, my. That's a bummer. That would be a bummer.
And the Excalibur is some kind of super weapon that can destroy Cthulhu instead of just being a sword.
Nice.
All right, so we've got another section coming up here. We want to get into Advantageous Threats, where we've got some themed Weird Wars dice rolls.
Our favorite segment. Welcome to our favorite part of the show, Advantageous Threats, where we build, roll, and educate simple sample skill checks for the fun of it, and we try to trip each other up and give at least examples of how to interpret the dice results as well, whether they're good or bad. So we'll start off today again with Tony.
Okay. My character, Professor Utah Jax, an American archaeologist from Brigham Young University, has been hired by the Union to head into the African Congo to seek the Heart of the Sky, a gemstone that is rumored to have the ability to control the weather, which would come in handy in the war.
Mm-hmm.
However, while entering a local fishing village to trying to procure a boat to go downstream, he's run across a couple of Reich occult commandos.
Oh no.
And has now squared off with them, with the villagers looking on as he pulls out his trusty razor whip.
Nice.
Yes, apparently negotiations didn't go so well.
So yeah, Utah Jax.
Nice.
So he's going to be at short range from them. However,
so this is round one.
Web.
So this is round two of the social encounter then, right?
Round one of the social encounter. Round zero was the social encounter.
That's right. Round zero was the social encounter.
So
down.
He is, because they are occult commandos, they have adversary 1. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at his melee, which is 3 yellow versus a 1 purple 1 red pool, and it is his trusty razor whip, which he has slightly customized, so it's superior in quality. Therefore, it will automatically add 1 advantage, which I'll just keep dialed onto a boost die and set aside here.
Nice.
So
I'm pretty sure one of these guys have flipped over a table and has some cover. What do you think?
Okay.
Because you're fighting these commandos, man. They're not gonna...
Well, they're not dumb.
They're not dumb. They're pulling out their... So are these commandos, are these supernatural commandos?
Well, you tell me what kind of commandos they are. They're Reich occult commandos.
Yeah, occult commandos.
Well, maybe if we do another Advantageous Threats, one of these guys will turn into a werewolf. Right?
Well, they're in Africa, so maybe like a were-jaguar or were-lion.
There you go. Sure. Perfect.
Okay, so how many setback dice for the cover? 1 or 2?
I think just the 1. I mean,
yeah,
just a little bit. They got a little bit of cover behind it. It's not like
good.
Heavy cover or anything.
Well, since I don't have to advance to use my razor whip, that I can use it at short range, I'm just gonna go ahead and spend my maneuver to aim.
Woohoo! Rock on, dude.
There you go.
So, yeah, I think I'm just gonna roll it as is. I'm not gonna spend a story point. How about you guys?
Good. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with letting it go.
Yeah,
You've got 1 red in there that you'll roll a despair. I mean, you might roll a despair on. Go for it.
What you got, Stefan?
Not a story point, but they sort of threw some dirt in your direction, dirt or maybe a drink in your eyes, or giving you a setback.
River water in my eyes. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you forgot to put your goggles down. So
yeah, that's
bummer.
it.
They're on top of
That's
your
all
head.
right.
No. All right.
Here we go.
Did a dirty trick.
All right. Well, first of all, first thing I see is a triumph.
Oh.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
All right. So the boost die had, interesting, the boost die had one of each on it, and both setback dice had one of each on them. So the boost and setback dice cancel each other out,
Nice.
leaving me with 1 success, 2 advantage, and a triumph.
Ooh.
Awesome.
So with my 1 success, I am I'm going to end up doing a grand total of 4 damage. Not a whole heck of a lot. Pierce 3 though, so it'll get through their some of their soak, and actually do 2 wounds to one of them. However, I'm going to go ahead and ensnare that one, and nice. I'd like to spend my triumph to be able to do a quick draw of my pistol and be able to fire off a shot right away at the other one.
There you go.
So maybe
I like it. That's cool. That's a good way to spend a triumph. Nice.
And the pistol, which is maybe outfitted with some silver bullets, maybe do a little bit more damage.
Yeah, awesome. You could do that. Another way of interpreting, I had an idea, is like with your triumph, you partially ensnare the other occult as well, dealing some damage to him as well.
Oh, yeah. Could have ensnared them both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Since it's your custom whip.
Yeah. You don't want to like throw it up into the ceiling fan or anything to hang him, since it's your own personal one, right?
Yeah, a little bit of Indiana Jones style action, of course.
I like it. I like
All right.
it.
Who's next?
All right, Chris.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Let's go, Chris.
So, if everybody remembers, Private James Whitefall from Sword Beach on D-Day a few months ago, well, he needs to make a fear check because he actually saw one of these arcane scientists go, "Rise, my minions!" after he smoked a frickin' group of them with the goddamn bazooka. Remember his bazooka that he shot at that machine gun nest? He's made his way in. He's survived the Normandy invasion. So his discipline, he's got a rank in discipline, and he's got a 2 willpower. Not sure. I threw on here. Maybe it's a hard fear check. For this fear check on him, just seeing minions rising. He hasn't seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I do. So I want to ask for a boost die or 2 because he survived the Normandy invasion, so he's got a bit of, a little more discipline there. He's seen. Well,
yeah, he may be,
but he hasn't seen this.
I'd agree that I only saw Saving Private Ryan a little while ago, and that would be very horrific. Just that landing on the beach.
Okay.
So if he survived that, you could have at least some surge of adrenaline coming up.
Okay.
That might help him. I'd give him 2 boost dice.
2 boost dice for that? Sweet.
Yeah. Because I like you.
Thank you, Stefan. And we like Private Whitefall.
Yes, of course.
All right, what do you think there, Tony?
You're rolling a fear check.
Yeah.
In a... I'm sorry, but seeing that, I'm going to apply his adversary ranks.
Which was 2, right? All right. Ooh. Well, I think this is the point where I would need to spend a story point and go, this is the private's first time seeing anything kind of supernatural-ish. So let's hope he survives this. So I have 2 yellows, 2 blues, 2 reds, and a purple.
Nice.
Sound good? All right, here we go. Let's see. Well, let's say no.
And before you announce, the results, I did bring up the PDF of the expanded fear guidelines just to give us an idea if this can help.
We'll see, because first off, my story point didn't help at all. one of those boosts. So Normandy landing helped a little bit, but one came up blank. I'm left with a 1 failure and 1 threat.
Oh, okay.
So did not get a despair, so he's not like running away pissing his pants, but he might be turning around and going, what the fuck, where's everybody else?
Well, that's it. So some suggestions, on this table I'm looking at, maybe he gets an aversion. He adds a setback to all checks involving the source of that fear.
Oh, forever? Kind of?
Until the end of the encounter, they say, for 1 threat.
Shit. So if I want to... Okay, that's cool. I like that. That's cool.
That would be one suggestion. Despairs could be maybe more permanent or long term.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so he's shaking
some
his
ideas.
Boots.
Yep. So whenever he's facing against other occult scientists, arcane scientists, like, oh no, what are these guys?
Not one of these guys again. That's awesome. That'll make for an interesting campaign if he survives.
Yep.
Sweet. How about you, Tony? Anything to add?
Nope, I'm good.
You're good. All right. All right, Stefan, who do you have?
All right, I've got Mrs. Miranda Lloyd Reynolds. She works as a lab assistant in the Parnassus Research Facility somewhere in North Dakota. So she's working for the Union.
Okay.
The team she's part of is working on a new weapon to fight the Reich Werwolf Corp.
Awesome.
But a spy has infiltrated the labs as a janitor and set a toxic gas bomb. And she caught him in the act. And she has to kick his butt before he sets it. Now,
awesome.
Since all the male soldiers are off fighting the war, the American government has trained some of these women to protect, let's say, certain facilities, because sometimes women are underestimated. So she's kind of a Black Widow kind of agent.
Oh,
Gotcha.
So they've been fighting for a couple of rounds, so now she needs to finish them off, hopefully. They've taken a few bumps and bruises, so she's going to try and take them out one more time. And I kind of inspired by the Ready, Fight as well
cool.
book. So she, like I said, she's a karate expert. So she's got 4 yellow and 1 green.
What? Holy crap. That's like black belt.
Like I said, she's got
6th level
like
black belt or something.
Well, that's it. Like I said, she's inspired by the Black Widow. So part of the division called the Rosie the Riveter Division.
Oh, nice. That's good.
All right. So like I said, she's got her brawl 4 yellow and a green, because she's got the crafty veteran talent, which she can switch her brawn to cunning instead.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense now.
That's why she's not physically a powerhouse. She's only 5'2".
Right. Sweet.
And this guy is towering over her.
Nice.
So she's also she's used to dealing with bigger adversaries. So she's got Giant Slayer 2, which allows her to take 2 strain to automatically get 2 successes.
Very nice.
That's cool.
Which I'll use a green dice to represent 2 successes already.
Okay.
Bit like Tony did with his boost die for the advantage.
Nice.
So of course, like I said, so that's my basic pool. Like I said, 4 yellow, 1 green. Difficulty usually 2 purple, but he's adversary 1.
Yep.
So
and you said she's about 5'2"?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pull out the rules in Ready Fight here. You said he towers over her?
Yeah, he's pretty big, so she qualifies for being a giant. So she gets her talent there.
Nice, but he has reach on her. So you're going to have 3, and it's going to be a reach of, he's 6'2". So you're going to have 3 setback dice.
All right.
On this. Yeah, we're going to make it a little difficult.
No problem. No problem.
Now,
but, of course, being Stefan, maybe she gets a boost die because, during this fight, she's spread some of the soapy liquid on the floor and he's slippery on it, making him unstable.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
However,
Yeah.
I know something about this guy that you don't know. So go ahead and flip a story point.
Oh,
Upgrade
awesome.
a 3rd die.
All right. So, well, actually, the purple dice will be upgraded to a red die.
Yep.
2 reds for the difficulty, 3 blacks for the setback.
I'm trying to guess. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at Tony here, thinking, what does he know? Do I know it too? I don't know. I'm going to try and guess, see what it is.
She would also flip a story point to get another yellow. So she's trying to defend her country.
Right. And 4 yellows isn't enough.
No.
He can always use more. Dude, that sounds like a lot of dice.
It's a big handful. Of course, I've got small hands. All right, we flipped all the story points. You guys good?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do it. All right, so no despairs, but 2 threats on those. All the setback dice came up blank.
What?
But so did the boost dice.
Cheating bastard.
Not even half the cheating.
So really, what you're saying is size doesn't matter, right?
Apparently not. Apparently not when it comes to her. And she's got. So those 2 threats are negated by 2 of her advantages, leaving her with 1 advantage. And basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
What?
Crikey.
Yep. So she manages to keep him a bit off balance, does a nasty, twirl, puts her foot on a stool, spins it around, whack, whack, whack a couple of times, and he flops down into his bucket of water.
Nice.
He flops down on his back.
Right.
And when he does, 2 threat, all of a sudden something goes,
Okay.
it starts bursting out of his shirt. Some sort of little creature is bursting out of his chest.
Well, yeah, that could happen if my advantages didn't cancel out the threats. But
Damn it!
Yeah,
let's say for argument's sake, But if I hadn't rolled any advantages, that could be awesome.
So
I had to tell people what I know that you didn't know, and I was having him gonna have a alien chest buster in his chest.
That's awesome. But what I thought was when he took him down to like 0 wounds or strain or whatever, he'd wolf out, baby.
That could be it too. It's like, whoops.
I tried to be predictable, but flip it on its head.
You did.
There you go.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, instead of a werewolf, he just becomes a nasty alien kind of creature.
Yes.
It could have been a totally good use of a despair if it had come up.
Right. It didn't, but I still had to say what I was hiding.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
That's where, because it's just an advantageous threat, so it's just
that's right.
Cool. So yes, that was awesome.
Well, wow. Well, that was fun, guys. Are we ready to go watch the Star Wars trailer now? And then end the show?
This is been
a fun, campy show, but that's what Weird Wars are. They're fun and they're campy.
They're campy. Yep. That's right. All right. All right, well, that's our show for tonight. I'd like to give a shout-out to the Religiously Odd Spots blog from Conrad Erasmus Newbert. Hopefully I pronounced your name right.
I believe so.
Yeah, good. He's a Lutheran minister that shares tidbits on pop culture and whatnot, and his couple latest blogs are pretty sweet. One is about getting the game together, how to kind of go about that, because everybody has busy schedules and whatnot. But the other one is using Paylor's name in vain, or not. That's pretty cool. It's a neat little twist on it. And this guy, he's not afraid to throw a couple F-bombs out there. So pretty cool.
No, he's a very cool. Father Conrad is a very nice guy. Lives in Germany.
Yep. Okay.
So talking a lot about Germany in this episode. Yeah. Very cool guy. So when I heard that he had his blog, it's like I suggested to Jamie, like, could we add him to the NI network officially? And he jumped at the chance. Why not? He's cool. He seems to be a nice guy. So
cool. All right.
So welcome to the network, Conrad, and folks, if you're listening to this show and and you need to seek a higher power afterwards.
He might help
maybe
you.
Cleanse yourself, cleanse your aura or your spirit.
Perhaps you should go visit religiously odd spots.
There you go.
Yep.
Get your dice blessed as well, maybe.
Ooh,
With a
there we
double
go.
dose of blasphemy from Tony.
That's right.
There you go.
I got your blasphemy right here.
What you got, Stefan?
On my end, just a few reminders. We're trying to get some more steam going on NivCon. Only a few games, unfortunately, set up. It's November 8th to the 11th. Only a few games, but go there. We'll put the links in the show notes, but pearsonjamie.wixsite.com/NivCon.
Yeah. If you don't join, run a game. If you don't join, play a game. This could be our last NivCon.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's like maybe it's the timing, but yeah, it seems to be a lot of effort and not as many people are
So if you've been
running
putting
games.
it off, going, I'll get to it eventually. Dude, there's lots of opportunity here to enjoy yourselves, folks. Come on up.
Yeah. How many more spots do you have in your game there, Tony?
1 or 2.
There we go. Yeah, I can't wait to play in that. And I can't wait to learn.
Genesis.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn Legion on Tabletop Simulator.
There we go.
So that every time now I walk past, I go into Fantasy Flight Games, I'll look at the wall and go, fuck you, Jamie, no! I can't get there.
Actually, I thought about you the other day when FFG said they had a sale on the Legion corsets. Uh-oh.
Didn't know they were selling
There goes
corsets.
Chris's. Yeah, now it's like, oh no, there goes Chris's paycheck.
I don't wear corsets. Now I'll play a corset of Legion.
That's what I meant, corset. That would be one hell of a corset.
Well, hey, now I've lost a little bit of weight actually.
Oh, that's good. Well, you probably gained some of it with that pie.
Yeah, I kind of did. I think.
If you have any pie recipes you'd like Chris to try, or if you would like to just reach out to us, maybe you want to send unsolicited meat pics to Stefan.
Right.
Reach out to us
if you've hit a deer and want to mail me the meat. Still trying to get Tony to send me the meat from the deers that he's hit.
Everyone I hit gets up and runs away. So
you're not doing it right. No.
Email us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. You can get a hold of Stefan and I over at Finding the Narrative on Facebook, Nerds International, Finding the Narrative on MeWe. Twitter is at FTN_Genesis. And you could just listen to us Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play. Put a review up if you want to. Anywhere of those places would be nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a great show, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was
too.
fun. A lot of fun, as always.
Yep.
All right. Well, this is Tony saying, keep rolling them bones.
And this is Stefan saying, don't forget to ask for the boost dice.
And then this is Chris. Remember the rule of cool, your razor whip, and to just have fun.
There we go.
Finding the Narrative, a Genesis RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned in this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesis RPG podcast. Copyright 2019, all rights reserved.